All right, good evening, commissioners, good evening, members of the public. I'm going to call this meeting to order with roll call. Commissioner Andrades,
Present.
Commissioner Field, Commissioner Field. I'll remind commissioners to turn their mics on when speaking. All right, Commissioner Fuentes,
Present.
Commissioner Levine will be joining us. Commissioner Lewis will be joining us. Commissioner Mack,
Present.
Commissioner Mesa is present. Commissioner Murray,
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Commissioner Stein,
Present.
Commissioner Thomas will be joining us. Commissioner Yap will be joining us. All right, we have a quorum. Everyone, before we go to ex parte communications, I'm going to read a statement. Commissioners, members of the public, I appreciate your continued dedication to this work and your service to the city. Last week's meeting ended early due to a loss of quorum following disruptions that made it impossible to continue conducting business in an orderly manner. That outcome was unacceptable. We did not complete the public's business, and for that, I take accountability as chair on behalf of the commission. I also want to address something specific. Last week's agenda included a 30-minute limit, each for in-person and virtual public comment. That structure was properly noticed in advance, but it was not clearly articulated at the outset of the meeting. That lack of clarity created confusion, which contributed to the disruption. I should have set those expectations clearly at the start, and I did not. Going forward, any time parameters or procedural expectations will be clearly stated at the beginning of each meeting so there's no ambiguity. I want to be clear. The commission values public participation. Community voices are not only welcome, they are essential to the process. Charter reform touches the core of how our city governs itself, and I understand that these issues evoke strong feelings. I respect that passion. We must ensure that everyone who wishes to participate has a meaningful opportunity to do so. At the same time, we have a responsibility to ensure that the meetings are conducted in a manner that allows all participants to be heard, staff to safely perform their duties, and commissioners to deliberate thoughtfully. When disruptions prevent the commission from carrying out its work, we are unable to meet our obligation to the public. That balance between open participation and our duty to complete this work by the ordinance mandated deadlines is becoming an ever urgent task. Last week's agenda included several important items that were not heard as a result of the disruption. We were also unable to accommodate the public who had taken time out of their days to speak in virtual public comment. That is deeply unfortunate. We owe it to the people to complete what we start and to meet our ordinance mandated responsibilities. It is my intent to move through the agenda in a fair, structured, and timely way so that the public's business can be completed. To provide greater clarity, this commission will allocate 1 hour for public comment at each meeting. We will begin with 30 minutes of in-person comment, followed by remote comment. If time remains, we will return to in-person comment. These parameters are intended to create predictability, fairness, and transparency in how public comment is heard while ensuring the commission can deliberate and take action. I have also instructed the staff to release a more detailed calendar of the commission's anticipated work. An updated calendar has been posted on the commission's website and is included in the executive director's report outlining topics for our next 4 meetings. Adjustments may need to be made based on the progress of our work, and we will notice those changes as quickly as practicable. Starting today, the agendas will include more detailed topics so that the public knows exactly what will be discussed. Transparency about what is coming and when is essential to public trust, and we will continue to improve in that regard. The commission has no more than 40 days to transmit our recommendations to council. I know that our schedule is robust, but I believe that each of us has the commitment to see it through. We were appointed to do a difficult job on a fixed timeline, not of our choosing. And that responsibility requires discipline from all of us. We owe that commitment to the residents of Los Angeles and to the integrity of the process. Thank you, commissioners and members of the public. I now move on to ex parte communications. As a reminder to commissioners and to the public, I am going to read through the ordinance that was adopted by the commission. An ex parte communication is a communication between any member of the Los Angeles Charter Reform Commission and any elected city officer or member of any elected city officer's staff regarding a matter pending before the commission. An ex parte communication does not include any communication that takes place on the record during an official public meeting. The requirements of the section do not apply to a communication between a commission member and a member of the city attorney's office providing legal counsel. A commissioner shall disclose any ex parte communication at the next commission meeting following the communication. Any off-the-record communications that take place during an official public meeting shall be disclosed before the adjournment of the meeting. Disclosure shall include the time and date of the communication, the form of the communication, the approximate duration of the communication, if applicable, the identity of the persons who participated in the communication, and a summary of the content of the communication. The summary shall include a general description of the types of charter reforms communicated. Commission members or commission staff may ask a commission member to resubmit communication disclosures that are not sufficiently detailed. The Charter Reform Commission staff shall maintain a public database on the Charter Reform Commission website where a log of ex parte communications can be found. The charter staff shall update this log within 72 hours of an ex parte communication disclosure. Failure to comply with the requirements of this section shall subject the commission member to a potential censure by the commission, and the commission may resolve to recommend the appropriate appointing authority initiate removal of the commission member. A violation of this section shall not render any action of the commission or commission member invalid. I will now go around the dais and ask if there are any ex parte communication disclosures from any commission members since our last meeting. Commissioner Andrades,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Murray,
No.
Commissioner Stein,
Nothing.
Commissioner Mesa has none to report. Commissioner Sanchez,
Nothing.
Commissioner Field,
None.
Commissioner Fuentes,
No.
Commissioner Lewis.
None.
And note for the minutes that Commissioner Lewis has joined us. Welcome. Commissioner Mack.
None.
Thank you, commissioners. We now move on to public comment. I am going to, before we move on to public comment, we are expecting a special guest under former city elected officials. Has that guest arrived yet, Executive Director? Okay, then I will note for the public that we may take a break in public comment for a guest speaker that will not be counted against the time allotted for public comment. All right, again, is there anyone who has not signed up for public comment that will wish to speak during public comment? I see 1, 2 hands. Any?
You didn't sign up here?
Okay, well, that's okay. I just want to know what's the total plus 2?
It will be 30.
30, so 1 minute each. Okay, I will hand it over to the Executive Director to administer public comment.
Wait.
Oh, I can borrow.
Okay.
I'll borrow a seat until.
Okay, if they show up, I volunteer.
My seat, I know my, I'll see what my seat.
Alrighty, folks, I am going to call 3 people at a time. Please come up and line up when you're called. Again, it is 1 minute. I won't give it, since it's only 1 minute, especially, I won't give a 30-second timing. I'll just let you know that your time is up. I'm going to move the camera also. Could I have Sarah, Carolina, and Carolina, Andrew, please come up. Sarah, and go. Oh, hold on. I think the mic might not be on. Look on the top. Is there a switch? Okay, okay, go.
Awesome. Hi, thank you. My name is Sarah Friedman, and I'm here on behalf of the Trust for Public Land and as a citizen here in Los Angeles. I wanted to thank you for your work to date. This is a really important undertaking. And I just have a really simple request. Earlier this year, this commission heard a request from the LA Department of Recreation and Parks to double its charter mandated allocation. And that did not move forward. I humbly request you to reconsider moving this forward and to think about it in adopting a phased approach similar to what the libraries have done in 2011. LA's park system, as you've heard and as we experience firsthand every day, is really suffering, and that need is very clear why. It has been underfunded and consistently underfunded since about 2009. The bulk of its funding is through its charter mandated allocation.
And thank you, time.
Opportunity. Okay.
Ms. Goodman.
You learned
Go- sorry, Ms. Goodman's next, and then Andrew. And Sarah, can you make sure, have you emailed this to us before? Okay, please. Thank you so much. All right,
Good
1 minute, go.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Carolina Goodman, League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles. Thank you, Chairman Mesa, for your statement at the beginning of this meeting. If it takes only 10 or 15 minutes to hear everyone, it would be well worth the time to go over. We appreciate your modeling, Commissioners, on how to have differences of opinion without walking out and shutting down the meeting when we have so little time to complete the Commission's work. We appreciate also giving us a sense of what's going to be happening in the next few meetings. That way we can plan our advocacy. But it is very disappointing to learn that the policing reform will not be discussed until March 5th, when it is clearly a high priority item. Regarding today's agenda, the League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles supports recommendations to prohibit the
And thank
practice
you so much,
of
Andrew.
requiring signed letters of
And
resignation.
after Andrew, we have Ross, looks like K, yeah, that's K, and Jamie. Ross, K, and Jamie are after Andrew. Andrew, begin.
You obviously learned nothing from last week's meeting since once again you're continuing all these restrictions on public comment. You know, you literally adjourned the meeting, so you got no work done because half your commission walked out because of your crap. So maybe you would have actually gotten all this work done if you had just spent the extra 10 minutes to hear from everyone in person. That would have, then you wouldn't be rushing as much. But you didn't want to hear from that because this commission, a lot of the members on here seem to be installed specifically to try to stop any reform. That's why everything's getting pushed out. You clearly don't want to do any reform to the LAPD since you keep pushing that out to the end of the time you have. So you keep yelling and screaming about how you don't have enough time, but you could have considered all this stuff last week if you just heard the extra 3 speakers or whatever, and then continued on.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Ross, you're next.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ross Weisschopper with Fair Rep LA. This November promises a powerful pro-democracy wave, and the ripples from this commission's discussions are already being felt. When Culver City Council just last Monday put lowering the voting age for citywide elections on the ballot for this November, council members proudly noted they were part of a growing movement that included the conversations of the LA Charter Reform Commission. You face a clear choice today. Will you allow that conversation to continue? Access to democracy should not depend on incumbency, wealth, or institutional support either. And at the county level, the system functions with signature thresholds as low as 20 for supervisor. Commissioner Stein's proposal to reduce the requirement to 400 signatures would still ensure seriousness while meaningfully lowering barriers for grassroots candidates. Lowering the voting age to 16 and reducing the signature requirement to 400 will not flood the ballot with unqualified candidates or unqualified voters. It will strengthen democracy.
Thank
Let's
you. 1
ride
minute.
this wave.
Thank
this
you. And
November.
after
Thank you.
Ross is Kay, and for the record, Commissioners Levine and Yap have arrived. Kay, 1 minute, go.
Hi, yes, I urge the commissioners to look at the length recommendations on infrastructure planning. We support a 5-year infrastructure plan. In the charter markup we provided to the commission, we recommended that it be updated biannually. In the off year from the presentation of the 2-year budget, we also defined the content and creation of the plan. We created section 321 to describe all of that. Item 6, yes. Item 7, at the February 12th meeting, Mr. Ramirez stated that the staff of elected officials may refuse to talk to the commission staff if their conversations are subject to ex parte disclosures. I consider this a feature, not a bug. This is not 1999. The trust is broken. And I'll save everything. I have a CIS also, so I want to come up for palms later.
Thank you very much. After Kay is Jamie. Jamie.
Wow, 1 whole minute. So generous for general public comment and agenda items. Whew, what can I say? Strong support of the bonk recommendations, a guarantee to have our CISs heard at all city meetings, because that doesn't currently happen. Voice in choosing our bonk commissioners and the general manager, and the 0.1% of the general fund to fund the neighborhood council system. That doesn't seem like too much to me for the voices closest to democracy. Currently, neighborhood councils get 25,000. When we started, it was 50,000. If that had kept up with inflation, it would be about 80, 90,000. But you see, when the budget goes down because of unfunded liabilities from, police reform that's needed, what happens is the neighborhood councils suffer. And we got our budgets cut. So 32,000 to 25,000 just in the last year. And it means that we can't be effective. We have $25,000 to serve 80,000 people in Reseda. Obviously we need the ex parte disclosure, but you guys will seemingly come up with an excuse
Okay,
not to
Jamie,
do
1
that.
minute. Oh, and I see, okay, you actually had your name after that. So we'll come back to you for CIS. I've got Heath, Danielle, and Matt next. Heath, Danielle, and Matt, please queue up.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Please give serious consideration to the presentations you're going to hear shortly from our Dunn leadership and Bonk. We need to do this for the citizens of LA. As Jamie just mentioned, the neighborhood council funding needs to be fixed. As someone involved in outreach in Woodland Hills, I don't have enough money to mail one postcard to the mailing addresses in Woodland Hills. That's how bad it is. So please consider these budgetary reforms, and whatever you do, make sure that you empower the voice of the people. The bureaucracy and the politicians unintentionally put themselves in silos, and the people are not heard. They need to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Hi, Danielle. Go.
Hello. Nice to see y'all. Co-leader of the LA Ford's Immigrant Justice Working Group. I want to thank the staff for helping produce the Enshrining the Right to Counsel for Deportation Defense. I know y'all are super busy and had a truncated timeline, and I really appreciate how communicative you all are with us, but I need to clarify a few things around the report. What we're advocating for and what Commissioner Fuentes' motion was about is enshrining the right to counsel in deportation defense in the city charter, not enshrining the Represent LA program in the charter, which is what the report really focuses on. I feel the need to be really clear about this. We're not advocating that Represent LA or any specific program be enshrined in the charter. We're not advocating for earmarked funds or charter-based budgeting. We are advocating that the city of LA in the city charter, its foundational document, make a commitment to provide every Angelino with counsel if they face deportation. We believe that having access to counsel when the government can seize and
Thank you so much, Danielle. That's 1 minute.
it's a fundamental human right, y'all.
Matt,
So, yeah.
Matt is next. After Matt, it's Andrea, Olivia, and it looks like James M. Andrea, Olivia, James M. after Matt. Matt, go.
Hey, good to be here. About Simon, LA Ford Institute. I'm a volunteer. I'm asking you to recommend the right of access to counsel for deportation defense. So I looked at the staff report, and I worry this report will create significant confusion. I have a lot to say, but only a short amount of time now. So I'm just going to say one, this could be for residents of Los Angeles. It doesn't have to be for the whole county, just for deportation defense, not for all affirmative immigration defenses. That was not something that we were advocating for. There are multiple just, fiscally and legally sound ways to do this. Please speak further with Rep. LA or talk to our Immigrant Justice Working Group. Almost basically all the liability concerns in this report, I think, are just unfounded and wrong. And please look further, because I think this report leaves a lot to be desired. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. Andrea. And go.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Mackey, she, her, hers with California Panhandle Health Network and LA Forward. I'm here in support of enshrining the right to counsel for deportation defense in the city charter, making it a commitment that defense counsel ought to be available for all residents in Los Angeles. Currently, people are forced to do this alone. You know, one such case is my friend, Jakob, you know, he's a Filipino DACA resident, recipient who's lived in the US since 2001. And then since October, he's been writing to us in Georgia in an ICE detention center, and we've had to fundraise for him to get him legal aid. And right now what we're hearing, you know, and his only crime was he was just using his First Amendment right. Without legal counsel, he, you know, who knows what will happen. And what we've been seeing and what Jakob's been sharing with us is that people have been preying upon folks in detention centers, getting scammed, and committing fraud. And so we need to make sure that people are not vulnerable to these attacks. And we hope to see that in the...
And thank you so much. Next is Olivia. Olivia?
Good afternoon. My name is Olivia Barber. I'm a member of the LA Black Workers Center. For Black workers, charter reform is survival. It provides a stable public sector jobs, provide housing stability, healthcare access, long-term stability, and ends homelessness. That's why we are asking you to make this process as open and clear to the public, and to adopt the LA Black Workers Center workforce equity recommendations so that equity becomes enforceable and not aspirational. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. After James, I've got Justy, I've got Nayabini, Lasim Koti, and Sam. And begin.
Hi, honored commissioners and staff. I'm here to speak to the handout that I gave to you guys summarizing public comment by subject and proportion. I revised the data slightly, and the reason why I think is instructive. What the data shows is clear. In the past 12 meetings, police reform is the topic that is most popular in time and individual comment across all subject matter. It comprises 24.9% of all total comment, the highest proportion, and 26.9% by time. In 12 meetings, members of the public have spent approximately 2 hours, 38 minutes, and 30 seconds on police reform speaking before you, the length of a Marvel movie. I revised the time upwards on police reform slightly to reflect Ms. Janet Tyler's comment at the last meeting, which went longer than the normal appointed time. I did not include other such comments that have gone on longer or have disrupted meetings, and I did not include any neighborhood council members, presentations, or commissioners as well. Police reform hangs over this commission like a shadow. It is the mud that is sucking at your feet. I ask the commission—
Thank you so much. Next is Justy. Justy, next. 1 minute. And go.
Sorry, I'm short. All right. The 1991 Christopher Commission is a failed experiment, and one we don't have time to repeat again now. Direct quotes from that 1991 report are, "Failure to control these officers is a management issue at the heart of the problem. The documents and data we analyzed have all been available to the department, and most of the information came from the source. And we recommend a new standard of accountability. Incidents will not diminish until ranking officers know they will be held responsible for what happens in their sector." And then 6 years later, the Rampart scandal started, so obviously that got taken very seriously. 2020, the new use of force policy got enacted, de-escalation techniques, verbal warnings, unbiased policing, and using only objectively reasonable force. The recent data on that isn't available, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree that isn't going very well either. And additionally, as much as this commission has been subjected to the speculation of how independent it's truly operating, we can't possibly pose that a future police accountability commission under any name
And thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you.
Next. And go.
Commissioners, Nyabingi Kuti. I'm a member of the LA Black Workers Center, and I'm glad to see this process happening. How you doing, Commissioner Lewis? We met at Community Coalition. Yeah, I want to advocate for improvements for Black workers, ensuring equitable access to city jobs, reducing privatization, and increasing accountability. Some of the things I would like to see the commission and the reform address is strengthening oversight, creating and enforcing equitable pathways for Black workers in city positions, and advocating for changes to address systemic discrimination in public employment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sam. Okay, and after Sam, I've got Jermaine, Ted, and Sherry. Jermaine, Ted, and Sherry, please queue up. Go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Samuel Rice. I'm a member leader at the Los Angeles Black Worker Center. Charter reform is not an abstract policy discussion for us. It will shape who has access to stable public sector jobs and who remains locked out. That's why we're asking for transparency in this process. Black workers deserve to clearly understand how decisions are being made, how recommendations are evaluated, and what criteria determine which reforms move forward. If this process lacks transparency, it will reproduce the same exclusion it claims to address. We are asking you to commit to a transparency charter reform process and adopt LABWC's workforce equity recommendations. Black workers deserve both visibility in this process and enforceable change at the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jermaine. And go.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Jermaine Houston. I'm a proud.
Can you speak more into the microphone, please? Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jermaine Houston, and I'm a proud member of LABWC and parent. When we talk about public safety, we most also talk about public accountability. A charter reform process that is not transparent undermines trust and weakens democracy. Black workers deserve to see how decisions are being made about the system that shapes our livelihoods. We deserve clarity around timelines, decision-making, criteria, and how community recommendations are weighed. Charter reform should not feel distance or closed off. It should feel accessible and accountable. Please ensure this process is transparent and adopt the LABWC workforce equality reforms so the charter reflects the reality Black workers are living. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ted? Is Ted here? Ted Baker, it looks like, maybe Backer. Okay. Sherry? And go. Oh yeah, bring that down. Okay, go.
How y'all doing today? My name is Sherry Marshall, and I'm a proud member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. Young Black workers are watching this process, and they are watching whether their city is serious about equity and whether public decision-making is accessible or opaque. We need clear communication about how workforce reforms are being evaluated and where they stand. And we need adoption of LABWC's workforce equity recommendations so that the charter reflects a real commitment to fairness. Transparency in the charter reform sends a message. It tells us whether community input matters or whether decisions are predetermined. Transparency builds trust. Equity builds stability. We are asking for both. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sorry, next three are Gerson, Felice, and Darren. Gerson, Felice, and Darren.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Gerson Navidad with the Immigrant Defenders Law Center.
Southern California's largest deportation defense nonprofit law firm. I'm here today to urge your support for Commissioner Fuentes' recommendation to enshrine the right of access to counsel for deportation defense in the city charter, thus making a powerful commitment as a city to stand with each other as Angelinas against an unjust immigration enforcement regime that too often tears families and communities apart. By enshrining the right to counsel in the Los Angeles City, all Angelinos who need deportation defense will have a fighting chance of remaining with their families and loved ones in the city they call home. As a former unaccompanied child myself and experiencing the torturous condition of ICE detention, having a lawyer by my side gave me hope and eased the chaos of the unpredictability of our immigration system. It is indispensable that we step up to protect our communities and our neighbors. INDEF stands ready to do our part. I ask that the commissioners vote yes on the recommendation initiated by Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Police? Police? And
Yeah.
go.
Good afternoon. I am Felice McInnes, and I'm here as a private citizen who's been affected by lack of jobs when it comes to city selection of those jobs. It seems like it does not reflect the city. It only reflects mostly one group of people, and I have a problem with that. I think we all should have a problem with that. Look at yourselves as an example of what I'm talking about. It does not reflect us. It does not reflect the entire city. And these things need to change. How can you sleep at night knowing this? I don't need to spell it out. We are all aware in this room about the employment practices of the city. And that's where it needs to stop. It's a new day. It's a new time. We're not going away. So we need to be included. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Darren, after Darren, I've got Nicholas, Ida, and Conrad. Nicholas, Ida, Conrad.
Hello,
Go, Darren.
Commissioners. My name is Darren Sherman. I'm
Closer to the mic.
Closer to the mic, please.
Hello, my name is Darren Sherman. I'm a member of the LA City Black Workers Center. Black workers lose time every day in opaque systems. We sit in a pipeline, in a hiring pipeline that we cannot see. I have a little vision problem, so excuse me. We sit in pipelines, hiring pipelines that we cannot see. We're told to wait on hiring lists that we cannot track. We're told to trust in your system that we don't have any access. We don't have any way of seeing what's going on. So we really need transparency.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nicholas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicholas Caputo. I'm speaking on behalf of Livable Advanced Los Angeles. I would like to quickly make 3 recommendations. One is to broaden and fast track the hiring authority of specific departments to allow more Angelinos who actually live here to get city jobs more easily, allow lateral transfers, and create continuous career ladder pathways to make Los Angeles not a place you stop in for a job, but a place where you can actually grow a career reliably. And anyone that wants a job and to better their built environment can get one. 2, mandate and enshrine the ability for the controller to audit city departments and elected officials into the charter to catch malfeasance while it's happening much more quickly, even if that also means to put anti-abuse protections in there in the potential for a future city controller. If that's what it's going to take to get that in there, then get the auditability in there. 3rd is give the city council the ability to modify some level of police department policy. Don't have that be the one department.
And thank you so much, Ida.
Hi, my name is Ida Shuri, and I'm vehemently opposed to bifurcating the city attorney's office. Taking the power away from the people from electing a representative essentially makes this position not accountable to the people. We can see that this specific agenda item was pushed by Nithya Raman, who's now a mayoral candidate who would be in charge of appointing this position. The conflict of interest is actually right there. At the same time, the LA Forward Institute, who's claiming that this office is too big and we should make this not elected position, are they going to do that to the Attorney General as well? The San Francisco, San Diego, Sacramento, Fresno, Long Beach, Oakland, these are all elected positions. And making this non-elected means they're not accountable to the people, and they're going to be beholden to these elected leaders right now. They're being funded by the same special interests and powerful people that control our city. We're not going to see any third-party candidates have any platform by bifurcating this office. As well, any of these offices that are not elected.
Thank you so much, Conrad.
Conrad Starr, speaking as an individual. I care about my city. I care about grassroots democracy. And I care about my neighborhood. I've served 8 or 9 years on my neighborhood council, and I listened with interest to George Kiefer's comments, former commissioner, who said the one regret he had was that neighborhood council's hands were tied by the Brown Act. Well, the Brown Act ship has sailed, but let's talk about neighborhood council's hands being tied. I read with interest the bonk recommendations, which the ad hoc committee at Greater Wilshire has forwarded to our full board for support. Our hands are tied. By supporting the bonk recommendations, you have the ability to possibly untie our hands, give us some elbow room with a more realistic budget, allow us to budget for several years in advance and afford elections and afford a professional minutes writer and afford a meager event every now and then and afford email infrastructure. These are simple requests. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next three are Robert, Baird, and Rob Kwan and Sarah. Robert, Rob, Sarah.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Rob Baird from the Prevention Institute. We're a health equity advocate. I'm here to speak about the infrastructure report and the Park and Recs items that were proposed for that report. And I want to urge you to include those items in your final approved report. We've been working for years to promote the idea, and successfully, I would say, that parks are not a nice to have, but they're essential infrastructure. They're a must have. Research that we've done with UCLA has shown that 160,000 years of life expectancy can be added to Los Angeles with greater green space. And 120,000 years of that amount would go to Black and brown communities. That's life expectancy. And a lot of smart people have pointed out that the charter reform is an essential aspect of fixing the broken way that we fund our parks and rec system. Our park and rec system has fallen woefully behind both in access and quality.
Thank you so much, Rob. Maybe Rob will be back. Sarah. Oh, Rob, are you coming? Is Sarah here as well? Sarah? No Sarah? Okay, after Sarah is going to be Joanne and Brenda. Joanne and Brenda are after Sarah if she's here. Rob, go.
Give me just a second. Reminder that any of you commissioners could move to overrule the chair and extend the time to 90 seconds in the future. The last meeting was a good reminder of something I told you a few weeks ago. You ultimately meet at the discretion of the people. You also meet at the discretion of your colleagues. Thank you to the 4 commissioners who refused to accept the sham process. It's not a good sign that even after a week for the staff to dilly-dally, we don't have agenda materials out in a timely manner so we can actually review them. I'm happy to see we finally have a more detailed schedule, but it's wild that we're not meeting more frequently to actually get through the ad hoc recommendations. It's insulting that once again, you deprioritize LAPD accountability and that waits until March 5th. This is intentional. It needs to be changed. They want to cry about how little time they have at that point and choke off the conversation. It's concerning that the executive director's report makes no mention of his recent appearance at council about outside counsel for the RFP, how he couldn't tell the budget chair, Katie Yaroslavsky, about the status of our budget. I'm old enough.
And thank you. That's 1 minute. Sarah is next. Sarah still here? Sarah, no Sarah. Joanne. Joanne, then Brenda.
Good afternoon, Joanne Yvanik-Garb from West Hills Neighborhood Council. In the beginning, we were an advisory group, but no longer can we be serving our community strictly as advisory. Our congressmen, our state senator and assemblymen, our county supervisors, they all recognize our value to the community. We are no longer an advisory group. We are participants in our community. Also, as part of the cleanup for the Santa Susana Field Lab, we've been dealing with the Department of Energy, Department of Toxic Substance Control. We have radioactive nucleus who's going to be transported through the middle of our community and on the way to the freeway. And we have a dog in this race.
Thank you so much.
We need to know that
And
we're not
Brenda.
advisory.
Brenda, come on down. And begin.
On behalf of the
A little
neighborhood,
closer to the mic.
sorry.
A little closer to the mic.
I'm here on behalf of the neighborhood councils and West Hills Neighborhood Council. We must have equal powers and meaningful authority with support of and respect from local government officials and agencies and be treated as meaningful partners, especially when decisions affect the unique communities they represent. They can fulfill their foundational purpose only when the city charter clearly acknowledges the partnership between these local bodies in the city of Los Angeles. Strengthening that partnership is essential to rebuilding trust and ensuring civic engagement in Los Angeles is substantive rather than symbolic. We are all volunteers and we remain committed to improving our neighborhood. If charter reform is to succeed, it must genuinely incorporate local perspectives and grow from grassroots.
Thank you so much. That's 1 minute.
From top down.
That's at the moment, in-person public comment. Mr. Chair, did you?
Yeah, we're going to take a special guest shortly, but I want to continue with ex parte disclosures. Commissioner Levine, do you have any ex parte disclosures to report since our last meeting?
No.
Commissioner Yap?
No.
Thank you. I would like to welcome a special guest who will be speaking for 5 minutes. Former City Council member Michael Wu is with us today, who would like to provide some comments before the commission. As a brief introduction, for those of you who do not know former Council member Wu, Council member Wu was the first API member to ever be elected to the City Council. He was the Dean of the College of Environmental Design at Cal State Poly Pomona and a longtime civic leader in Los Angeles. Council member, it's an honor to have you today, and we do have 5 minutes allotted to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. First of all, let me commend you on your public service serving on this commission. I know from my personal experience back when I was on the city council trying to lead the fight for charter reform and ethics reform, what you are doing is a kind of thankless task. So thank you for taking this on. I wanted to take a few minutes and give you some reflections based on my experience when the city was last engaged in an adventure relating to charter reform. I was on the city council from 1985 to 1993. In 1990, there was a conflict of interest scandal here in City Hall. Mayor Bradley appointed a citizens commission to come up with ideas to address the problem of conflict of interest. As a council member, I was chairing an ad hoc committee on ethics reform, so it became my job to find a way to work with the Citizens Commission to put the recommendations into law. I can tell you it was not easy. When we tried to get a majority of the council members to support a very ambitious package, creating the Ethics Commission, outlawing conflicts of interest, limiting campaign spending, creating a system of public financing, there were some council members who didn't want to support it. They thought this is somebody else's problem. And the first time we tried to get a vote of the city council on the reform package, we fell short. The ordinance died. We didn't have enough votes, but we brought it back. We made some amendments. We were able to get the votes. Then it was a challenge to take it to the voters with a rather complicated package of reforms. Some of the council members who perhaps cynically had supported the reform package were part of an effort to torpedo the reforms by criticizing a provision they had voted for, the public financing of campaigns, assuming that that idea was so toxic, so unpopular, that it would doom the entire package. But then, perhaps like now, the city was in a moment of crisis. There were questions about whether the city was capable of delivering basic services in an efficient and equitable way. But also there was the shadow of misconduct and corruption that was hanging over city government. And I would say that because the voters who may have had doubts about some parts of the package decided that overall they would hold their nose and vote for the package because overall they thought it was a good thing. Overall, they thought it was moving in the right direction, which leads me to the one piece of advice that I wanted to give to you, which is to keep it as simple as possible. You may be very attentive to the details, the minutiae of city government, but assuming that your work is going to become a package of reforms for which you are going to have to ask the voters of the city to support it, you've got to have things in there that people can understand and will instantly embrace, because even if it's not 100% what they like, if they think that overall the effect is good for the city and is addressing what they see as the concerns, then you can get public support. And specifically, what I wanted to suggest is I encourage you to think about going further in terms of bolstering a response to misconduct by city officials. I believe that while the Ethics Commission, created by the Ethics Reform Package of 1990, represented state-of-the-art reform in 1990, you should think of corruption and misconduct as being like a virus. Like a virus, corruption adapts to new circumstances. And so while the Ethics Commission may have been the right solution back in 1990, things have changed. So I encourage you to consider the idea of creating a position of Inspector General for the city of Los Angeles, a position that would be independent, funded, staffed, and given a mandate to be an independent voice, not dependent on the mayor, the city council, the controller, or the city attorney, to root out corruption and to have the power to be able to do it. It's really wrong for the city of LA to have to wait for the FBI or for a US attorney to act on allegations about corruption. The city of LA ought to be able to take care of these things on its own. And I suggest that the way to do it is to empower an independent Inspector General to root out corruption so that it will give the voters of the city confidence that the city can really take care of the basic needs of the people of the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Council Member. Commissioner Fuentes.
Oh, there we go. Thanks so much for joining us. I did have a question related to the Inspector General slightly, but not really. Public comment had brought up empowering the city controller to do independent audits of other departments and city officials. Is that something that you would support as well, hypothetically, in terms of uprooting misconduct as well as corruption?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I think it makes sense to strengthen the controller's ability to conduct audits. But I would point out that is very different than having an Inspector General whose job is to prevent misconduct and to check on allegations of corruption. So there's certainly nothing wrong with giving the controller more powers to conduct audits, but that's not the same thing as the misconduct that I'm alluding to.
Commissioner Yap.
Thank you for your comments. They're very insightful, and I'm particularly thinking about the way that we would appoint or elect an inspector general, and if you could share some thoughts on what you would view as a best practice to achieve the independence that you are thinking about.
One way to do it would be for the mayor as the chief executive to nominate an inspector general and for the council to then ratify the choice, but to insulate the inspector general from a mayor or a council member who might be irritated or upset or nervous about what an inspector general would do. In other words, I think that it's certainly possible for a mayor and the council to pass judgment on appointing an inspector general. But assuming that an inspector general who really does the job is not going to make friends, in fact, is likely to be dreaded by some of the people who may be subject to the inspector general's work, the inspector general would need to be protected from interference and from efforts to block the inspector general's work. So I think the appointing authority is something that I'm sure you can come up with ways of coming up with a name. I don't see any reason why the normal procedures of city government with the city's chief executive naming someone subject to a majority of the council approving it. But the proof of the pudding comes later, after the inspector general is in the job. Will the inspector general be protected from officials of the city standing in the way, obstructing, taking resources away, or even retaliating against an inspector general? There have been plenty of stories at the national level of what has happened where under the Trump administration, the administration has taken action to weaken the inspector generals of the different federal departments. I think it would be essential to find a way to protect the inspector general in Los Angeles against that kind of interference.
Yeah, just a clarifying note. So election of an independent inspector general, it would not be your recommended route. It
No,
would be
I think election of an inspector general would definitely be a bad idea.
Thank you.
Because the inspector general should not be a politician. In other words, the inspector general should not be needing to raise money, should not be trying to get votes. If anything, I think an inspector general who really does the job is not going to get any votes. This is not going to be a popular person. It has to be someone who is willing to not be loved, because I think if the inspector general is doing a good job, this is someone who others will fear. And that's the way it should be.
I have Commissioner Yap and then, Commissioner Andrades and then Commissioner Murray with our last question.
And thank you so much for joining us. I've been advocating for the position of the Inspector General since this commission first met. So I appreciate that you came and shared those sentiments. I have one question for you, and that's about process and placement. I've been trying to think about where the Inspector General would live, and I've landed on them living within the Ethics Commission, but not being an arm of the Ethics Commission, but because of the shared supervisory functions for oversight, living and working in tandem with that commission. Is that a sentiment that you share? Do you think that's a good place for the Inspector General to be located?
This is the first time I've thought about it. My preference, I think, would be for the Inspector General to be completely freestanding. However, if the Inspector General were somehow connected to the Ethics Commission, as long as the Inspector General's funding and staffing was not somehow dependent on the Ethics Commission or or other officials in City Hall, I think theoretically it could work. In other words, if it's just where is the furniture located, I think that's okay. But the question is, are there any dotted lines on the organization chart that would limit the independence or the autonomy of the Inspector General? I feel very strongly that the concept of Inspector General only works if it's someone who is truly independent.
Commissioner Murray. Mike.
Thank you. I'm sort of piggybacking up on Commissioner Andrade's question. He had proposed an Inspector General, but it was sort of working in tandem, or at least part of the Ethics Commission, as you know, because you created the Ethics Commission where I served many years on. There is a Director of Enforcement for the Ethics Commission. How would an Inspector General be different from the Director of Enforcement, the current Director of Enforcement for the Ethics Commission?
I'm not completely informed on what the role of the Director of Enforcement is. I know that the Ethics Commission has an important role in terms of determining fines to be paid responding to violations of law. And the Ethics Commission should still perform that function. But in terms of an aggressive investigative function, I'm not sure that the Ethics Commission is really equipped to perform an aggressive investigatory role. So to me, I think that there is more of a difference in terms of the Inspector General would be more of an investigator, and the Ethics Commission would be more involved almost in a kind of quasi-judicial role, determining fines, penalties, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
If we could give our speaker a round of applause, please. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to hand it back to the Executive Director to administer remote public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 20 folks with raised hands on the list that we will work with, which if you want to do even, it would be a minute and a half per speaker. 1 minute. And then, so it's 20 speakers. Yeah, 1 minute, and then we'll go back on. Listen. Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay, so do 1 minute, and then we'll come back to the room. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. I'm getting the list right now. Okay, the list. Okay, so I'm gonna call 3 names just to let you know. But the first name is gonna come off mute, and I'll call you again. So it's gonna be Brendan, Taurine, and Yaritza are gonna be the first 3. Brendan, we're taking you off mute now. Brendan, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, Brendan, go.
Yeah. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Brendan. I'm a member of the Working Families Party and LA Forward. I'm here just to continue to support reforms specifically within the planning and infrastructure area around codifying how the city does capital infrastructure planning. I do believe that a 5-year CIP is necessary to actually coordinate our tax dollars more effectively and at a degree of transparency that we simply do not have. At the same time, I tentatively support empowering the Director of Public Works. I do believe that a single executive should be responsible for administering the CIP, but at the same time, if this is the path forward, then I would encourage the commission to take a look at the actual powers delineated between the director and the board within the broader Department of Public Works. I just want to ensure that if we do make the director the individual in charge of coordinating this, that they actually have the power necessary to affect change, to coordinate it effectively, and that they don't run into any administrative.
Thank you so much, Brendan. Next up is Taurine. Taurine, we are taking you off of mute slowly. Taurine, can you hear us? Taurine?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, 1 minute, go.
Okay, Taurine Svittle, League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles, speaking today as an individual. By far, the issue raised the most often in public comment has been the need for police reform. We cannot wait several years for another commission to study the topic. The largest portion of our city budget goes to the police department, and for that reason alone, the department should be subject to meaningful oversight. Policing reform is urgent. Thoughtful recommendations have been offered by LA Forward, Catalyst California, and the League of Women Voters, and scholars and organizations with deep knowledge of the issues involved. The commission has access to enough information to make solid recommendations on policing reform. Please move forward on all 13 currently listed police reforms as official charter recommendations to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Yaritza, we're taking you off of mute if you can hear us. She's gone. Jester, Lucinda, and Barbara are our next three. Jester, Lucinda, and Barbara. Starting with Jester. Jester, can you hear us? Jester?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, 1 minute, go.
Okay. Good evening to the Charter Reform Commission. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jester Jersey, and I run the Vote 16 California X/Twitter account. This refers to agenda item number 3 on the matters of lowering the voting age to 16 for both school district and municipal elections. While it is true that young people spend a great deal of time in the school environment, it is also true that their interactions with the political process does not stop once they leave the school grounds, nor does it begin once they set foot at their place of learning, but rather it continues throughout the day, before getting to classes and after the school bell rings to dismiss students for the day. If anything, these young contributors to society should have both a say where they are learning and in the world around them, where they put the knowledge they've learned from school into practical application. This demonstrates that the work being done here is not only important for Angelenos, but for empowering young people in general. It is important that your recommendations to lower the voting age to school board elections and municipal elections be conveyed to the City Council for voter consideration later this year. Thank you for your time, work, and consideration.
Thank you so much. Lucinda, we are slowly taking you off of mute. Lucinda,
Okay.
can you hear us?
Yeah, could you hear me?
Yes, go.
Perfect. Okay. So sorry. I'm an intern with UCLA Labor Center and currently a student at Occidental College, and I'm giving public comment in support of Commissioner Fuentes' recommendation to enshrine the right of access to counsel for deportation defense in the city charter, thus making a commitment as a city that deportation defense counsel ought to be provided for residents that cannot provide their own. While some may make the argument that immigration is a federal issue and that rights of this nature are typically enumerated in the U.S. and state constitutions, we must remember that the U.S. and Californian constitutions are floors, not ceilings, for the rights of Angelenos. Deportations cause profound trauma and damage not just to impacted families, but to our communities and our city as a whole. As I've connected with my peers and my community members at Occidental, many have been affected by ICE's increased looming presence on LA life. So much so that those people feel uncomfortable speaking in public on their personal
Thank you,
issues, as I've
Lucinda. Our
asked them
next
to make
is
public comment.
Barbara. After Barbara, it's going to be Angela Paxley and Laurel. Angela Paxley, Laurel are after Barbara. Barbara, we're taking you off of mute. Can you hear us, Barbara?
Yes, I can. Hello, this is Barbara
Go for it.
Birdie. I'm a
1 minute.
land use chair at the Westside Neighborhood Council. I'm speaking in support of both Lank and Bonk recommendations to expand the voice of neighborhood councils, budget certainty, and the ability to address all electeds at all elected house levels of government. As a land use chair, I support APCs. Area planning commissions are important because they know communities. One body cannot do it. I support the retention of the 245. I believe that the city attorney must be elected. It cannot be appointed. It will create terrible conflicts of interest. And I also think parkland must not be available for sale because there is no budget to use much of the land that might be given to the city. Furthermore, there are already issues about the numbers of council members. Adding more and more without addressing the problems in the city with culture will not solve our problems. We need to address those issues first. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Angela. Angela, we are taking you off of mute. Angela, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Go for it.
My name is Angela Shepard, calling to express my strong support for the motion submitted by the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project, also known as LEAP. The LEAP motions are not symbolic or abstract. They are historically grounded, practical, and legally sound proposals. LEAP proposes establishing a Los Angeles Freedmen's Bureau. This is about infrastructure and accountability, not one-off programs. We need a permanent municipal institution designed to coordinate and oversee policies addressing intergenerational harm. LEAP asks the city charter to recognize lineage as a foundational principle for equity policy. Lineage provides a clear framework tied specifically to American freedmen who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. LEAP also urges the commission to formally recognize American freedmen in the city charter, as well as acknowledge reparations as a legitimate and ongoing municipal responsibility. And finally, the city must recognize anti-Blackness and systemic racism as a public emergency, requiring
Thank you
urgency,
so much, Angela.
coordination, and
Next,
accountability.
Paxley, we are taking you off of mute. Hopefully you can hear us, Paxley.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, Paxali Marquez, co-leader of LA Forward's Immigrant Justice Working Group. Thank you to staff for your time to produce a report on the possibility of codifying right to counsel for deportation defense. While we appreciate the time you've taken to draft this, we unfortunately saw that the report misunderstands the charter reform being proposed. On page 2, under applicability to the city of LA, the report misunderstands that the ask as codifying a protected budget for Rep LA in the city budget. This is unfortunately not the actual reform being asked. We've prepared Commissioner Fuentes with language that will hope to clarify the ask. We know that this will call into question some implementation questions, so we've positioned Commissioner Fuentes to share a menu of language to share with commissioners and staff. But importantly, the right to counsel is not the same as chartering a protected budget. At its core, codifying a right to counsel is about the right to Angelenos to have access to counsel and deportation defense when they cannot access it. The budget question of how this is funded is different and separate from the actual right to counsel, and we hope to you both revise the report and take Commissioner Fuentes'
Thank you so much. That's 1 minute. Laurel, we are taking you off of mute very slowly. After Laurel, it's going to be Lionel, Tiffany, and Diana. Lionel, Tiffany, and Diana are after Laurel. Laurel, can you hear us?
Yes. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Laurel Smiley. I live in El Sereno, and I'm here on behalf of LA Forward. I'm here to support in support of enshrining the right to counsel for deportation defense in the city charter, thus making a commitment as a city that deportation defense counsel ought to be available for residents who cannot provide their own. I ask that the commission recommend enshrining this right in the city charter to the city council. After sitting here and hearing that there are challenges around budgeting, I appreciate this, but I think it is also representative of who we are as a community, especially one that is 1/3 immigrants, that we really look at ways to make this possible and trust that the recommendations being made by LA Forward will ensure greater feasibility for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurel. Lionel, we're taking you off of mute. Lionel, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, Lionel, go.
Lionel Morris, budget advocate speaking for myself. I would like to say that I would like to echo Jamie York, what she said. An inspector general that will do a job will not be confirmed. The city will never appoint the person Mr. Wu envisions, and somehow if they do, the council will not confirm. We know this already. Look at what they did to my friend Jamie York when she was appointed to the Ethics Commission. The city council rejected her nomination because they know that Jamie York is an ethics expert. We need someone like Jamie York on ethics that will do the job to keep our government accountable. Furthermore, making robust changes to our current government structure requires a collective effort from both the leadership and the communities. It's essential to delineate power more effectively between the executive and legislative branches, ensuring a system that prioritizes public involvement and responsiveness, emphasizing community engagement and proactive governance to help restore trust in our city administration. Power to the people. Hi, Mr. Kwan.
We are taking Tiffany off of mute. Hopefully Tiffany can hear us. Tiffany, are you there? Tiffany?
Here, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. 1 minute.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Los Angeles Charter Reform Commission. My name is Tiffany Quarles, and I'm calling on behalf of the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project to express my strong support for the motions we put forth. I understand the Freedmen's Bureau motion is on today's agenda for discussion, and I respectfully ask you to advance this motion and move it forward in the charter reform process. I also ask you to support the other LEAP motions as well, which are recognizing lineage as a foundational principle for equity policy, formally recognizing American freedmen in the city charter, acknowledging reparations as a municipal responsibility, and recognizing anti-Blackness and systemic racism as a public emergency. These proposals are grounded in history and focused on addressing documented government-created harms Establishing a Los Angeles Freedmen's Bureau and recognizing lineage and equity policy are important steps toward accountability and clarity in how the city responds to these harms. Please advance the Freedmen's Bureau motion and support the full LEAP motions. Thank you for your time and service.
So much. Thank you. We're taking now Diana off of mute. Diana, hopefully you can hear us. Diana?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Diana Escamilla. I live in City District 10, and I'm here on behalf of Carecen. I'm here in support of the right to deportation defense in the city charter, making a commitment as a city that deportation defense counsel should be available for residents who can not provide their own. I ask that the Commission recommend implementing this right in the city charter to the City Council. Right now, immigrant communities in Los Angeles and across the county are facing an alarming increase in prosecution rates and fear-driven that separates families and destabilizes entire neighborhoods. In moments like these, access to legal counsel is a lifeline. By placing this in the city charter, Los Angeles would be making a lasting commitment. Most importantly, it affirms a core value that Los Angeles stands up to hate with unity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's see. Next three are Raphael, Joe, and Amy. Raphael, Joe, and Amy. Raphael, we are taking you off of mute now. Raphael, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good
Go
evening,
for it,
Commissioner.
Raphael.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Raphael Plunkett, and I support the motion submitted by LEAP, and I ask that you move forward and vote in favor of the proposed charter amendments to establish the LA Freedmen's Bureau, recognize lineage as a foundational principle, and recognize American freemen in the city charter. I support the LEAP motions. On a separate note, I do not support expanding voting rights to non-citizens. On a final note, I support protections, opportunities, and empowerment for Black workers and Black residents. I ask that you please make this process more known and accessible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Joe is next. Joe, we're taking you off of mute. Joe, can you hear us? Joe?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Joe, 1 minute.
Okay, this is Joe Plunkett. I strongly oppose the extension of voting to non-citizens in any U.S. election, and separately, I support the LEAP motions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Amy is next. After Amy is Chad, Eric, and Abram. Chad, Eric, and Abram. Amy, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go.
60 seconds is ridiculous. We need ex parte rules for staff. We know staff are getting non-trivial communication from electeds, and we need that information public again, or in public, in order to regain trust. I second everything Rob Kwan has said and wrote. I am a former LAUSD student. I wish I had the ability to vote in LAUSD in city elections when I was 16. And finally, please empower a director of public works. Don't make it another rule that reports to the board. If you are not going to consider the motions put forth by Martin Schlageter regarding the reorganization of public works and an empowered director of public works, it may be better to do nothing so we don't have to start over in 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Chad is next. Chad, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go Chad.
Perfect. I'm Chad from CD13. 2 items tonight to speak to the same underlying question. Who does this city belong to? On item 2, I oppose making it easier to sell RAP-held land, but the staff identified something really important. Vacant parcels just sit in bureaucratic limbo, serving no one. The answer isn't easier sales. It's an explicit pathway to convert that land to other public community-serving uses, affordable housing, community land trusts, neighborhood centers. Keep the land in public hands, change the use. And then on item 7, Los Angeles restructured its government a century ago to keep elected influence out of independent commissions. That was the whole point. The requirement to disclose ex parte communications is not a burden on staff. It's a condition under which this commission's work can be trusted at all. And then I just also want to support my some other public comments that you heard tonight in favor of non-voting citizen rights, underage voting rights, and the city belonging to everyone that lives in it, along with police reform. I urge you to honor all these principles. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric is next. Eric, we're taking you off of mute. Eric, can you hear us? Nope. Abram, can you hear us? We're going to take you off of mute now. Abram, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Hi, my name is Abram. I'm with LA Forward and the WFP of the Working Families Party, and I live in District 13. I would like to urge the commission to enshrine a 5-year CIP capital investment program into the charter. I think it's necessary to make sure our infrastructure is good and reliable. It is also my position that it needs to be held by a single executive that has power delegated by the charter. It is not enough for it to be the commission. They are ineffective, and they will continue to be ineffective if they are not if that power is not given to someone with expertise and not subject to political whims.
Thank you, Abram. The next person, I've just got numbers 1978 and some stars. Are you there, 1978?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. 1 minute.
Hello?
Go.
Thank you. Why isn't this commission voting on police reform considerations today? If this was a serious body that took substantive debate seriously, it wouldn't have purposefully delayed the LAPD discussions and votes. You would have expedited those issues, but you didn't. You so far failed in addressing the public's concerns here on that. And the commissioner had the gall at the beginning of this meeting to invoke time as an excuse for your own inaction. The recommended settlement amounts, by the way, for February 11, 2026 alone, during last week's city council meeting, totaled over $12 million, $5 million of which was a settlement for LAPD retaliation against a whistleblower. This commission's purposeful delays, deflections, and inaction enables police misconduct. I think it does. This Charter Reform Commission and its staff and committees, if it were a business, they would be grossly negligent at this point. And as far as the Director of Public Works issues are concerned, when I spoke with the previous director, Ryan Jackson, of systemic permitting violations in the Walk of Fame, he explained that the necessity of coordinating multiple parts.
Sheeta is next. After Sheeta, it's going to be Natalie, and then I think we're going to come back to Eric. Sheeta, can you hear us?
Yes. Good afternoon, commissioners. This is Dr. Shada Ashley. I have repeatedly asked this commission to consider implementing an ombudsman into our charter to deal with systemic corruption. However, I've been rebuffed repeatedly. I absolutely love what former council member Wu advised today about an inspector general. You can call it an ombudsman or an inspector general. Any independent body that will eradicate corruption in the city will do. Please, what would it take to get you to consider this? This position should be in addition to the commission, ethics commission, and to the controller's ability to audit. We need it all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Natalie, can you hear us? We're taking you off of mute now, Natalie.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go.
My name is Natalie Champion, and I am a resident of the city of Los Angeles and a board member for the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project. I respectfully ask this commission to vote in favor of the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project's motions for charter amendments to establish a Los Angeles Freedmen's Agency in the charter for the city of Los Angeles. Additionally, I ask this commission to vote in favor of formally recognizing American freedmen in the city charter. The city of Los Angeles must take responsibility for its complicity in government-sanctioned harms to American freedmen who descend from U.S. chattel slavery and who have endured the vestiges of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, mass incarceration, and discriminatory public policy. The city must recognize the unique experiences of American freedmen and formalize this recognition within the city charter, while also acknowledging reparations as a municipal responsibility and recognizing anti-Black systemic racism
Thank you
as
so
a public
much.
emergency.
Eric is next, and then after Eric is Marcus, our last virtual. Eric, we are taking you off of mute. Eric, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I have a quick question before I start. As a candidate, do I get any additional time, or is this just the 1 minute?
You only get 1 minute. Go.
All right. So my name is Eric Strong, and I am here to talk about police reform. I am a candidate for LA County Sheriff. Police reform is much needed and long overdue, and it will not happen until we get somebody that wants to make change and reform. As a Black man that's grown up in LA County, I have a shared experience with many of our community members. I have family members that have suffered from substance abuse, mental health, and even been incarcerated and killed by law enforcement. I've been a victim personally. I have a real 360-degree perspective of what we need. So it's important. Please get out and take a look at Eric Strong for Sheriff, Strong, the number 4sheriff.com. And I encourage this commission to really push this police reform, especially as it comes to our immigrant rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Marcus, we're taking you off of mute, Marcus. Hopefully you can hear us, Marcus.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Yeah, my name is Marcus Champion, and I am calling in strong, unapologetic support of the motion submitted by the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project, LEAP. I'm asking you to bring these motions forward today to debate them openly and to vote to advance them. These proposals are rooted in documented history and in this city's obligation to confront government-sanctioned harms born of slavery, enforced through Jim Crow, and perpetuated by discriminatory public policy. Establishing a Los Angeles Freedmen's Bureau, recognizing lineage as foundational to equity policy, formally recognizing American freedmen in the charter, acknowledging reparations as a municipal responsibility, and declaring anti-Blackness a public emergency are not radical steps, they are overdue. Justice delayed is justice denied. This commission has both the authority and the responsibility to act. Move these amendments forward and incorporate them into the charter reform process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is virtual. We have time probably for 4 or 5 more in person.
Are there any members of the public who did not get to speak who would wish to speak? If you could just line up right here in front of the mic. Chantel, I do see you, but if there's anyone else who has not had the opportunity to speak.
Okay. Perfect. All right, 1 minute, go.
Jennifer Goody speaking on myself as an individual. 1 minute's kind of ridiculous. We have to like micro machines it. So I contacted you guys. The way you guys do the agendas is redonk. Like you can't just put the room name. You need to put the room number so people can actually find it. There's also not enough information on how to sign up for public comment. And the way that these meetings are run is laughable. Like you need some lessons in running a meeting. What happened last week was embarrassing. It looked like some weak men lashing out because they lost control of the meeting, and it was a waste of everybody's time that came to this meeting. I've come to 3 meetings now to be able to present a CIS, and maybe I'll get to this week, who knows? Or maybe I'll be driving back downtown yet again during the workday. Thanks.
Thank you. Next. Bring that down. Perfect. All right, 1 minute, go.
I went through several versions of what I wrote, but I don't know if I can say it, but you will have my proposals in the email. When I meet with the client, my name is Chantel Daniels, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. I can already tell what they've been through as soon as they start interacting and engaging with me. I listen. I try to take in what they're saying to me, and it makes a difference. I can take a client from being distressed to here because of my presence. The LA City Charter, you guys have a tremendous job, but you can't do it without us. Now, I'm not saying that we're everything that you need to construct this charter, but we shouldn't be the thing that you leave out. You're looking for answers. We're trying to tell you we have impact. And when you leave impact out of a
Thank you. 1 minute.
for the people, you leave out the soul.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Commissioners. Jeremy Payne with the RLA Coalition. I am just here to speak to the fact that RLA has been closely following the progress of reform in the city of LA, and we remain optimistic about what can be done to make Los Angeles more representative, equitable, and just. I also want to express my appreciation to the commissioners that spoke out at the last few meetings about the importance of restoring public trust and the need to ensure that there's deliberations on some very complex issues and willing to have those conversations, in spite of them being sometimes disposed by the ad hoc committee. For example, Commissioner Lewis, Sanchez, and Yap on January 8th, your committee supported establishing virtual public participation as a permanent option at all government meetings, pending more information on SB 707. However, this was disposed by the ad hoc committee, so I ask that you reopen this for consideration with that information on SB 707. Commissioner Thomas Mackenfield on January 15th, your committee unanimously supported advancing 12.
And thank you so much, Jeremy. Anyone else? All right, that concludes public comment in total.
I know that we have a number of community impact statements. Do we know how many?
Yeah, in the room and on Zoom, especially Zoom, can you raise your hand first on Zoom and then raise your hand in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in the room. five in the room and one online. Looks like 5 in the room, 1 online. 5 minutes. All righty, we're gonna do 5 minutes per. So we'll just line up. Please queue up. We'll do the in-person first, and then we'll do the virtual at the end. All righty, I'm getting timer ready. Perfect. Thank you, folks, for lining up and your patience. And hold on, to make sure we've got the camera unblocked. Thank you for keeping that space for us. All right, go.
Hello again, Commissioners. Conrad Starr, this time representing the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council. I am the chair of our Charter Reform Ad Hoc Committee, and we have now filed 3 community impact statements. I previously spoke to 2. The third, which is linked in today's agenda, speaks to the Fuentes-Schlageter motion. That was the motion to transfer follow-ups for constituent services from city council offices to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. In the interest of time, perhaps you can confirm. It's my understanding that this motion is not moving forward. Is that correct? Okay, so I'll spare you a recitation of that long community impact statement. I would like to remind you of some of the contents of our previous 2 CISs. One of them was regarding planning recommendations, and one of those recommendations was to make changes to Section 245E. I see that is on tonight's agenda, and the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council does oppose making changes to 245E. We have seen firsthand how important it is to have a backstop when a commission makes a mistake. In our case, it had to do with a city parking lot being about to be changed, have hands changed and have that developed when it was an important community asset in the Larchmont Village neighborhood. And we did have our council member step up and help us to get to the end of that issue. We also submitted a CIS supporting the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition recommendations. And I know a lot of the bonk recommendations resonate with those LANC recommendations, issues around neighborhood council budgets, issues around the neighborhood councils having a role in the appointment of the general manager of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and thirdly, neighborhood council members being able to speak to city council, to commissions, and to committees when their neighborhood council has filed a community impact statement, and being given separate time to address them that is separate from public comment. And so I look forward to a 4th CIS from our board supporting that. But like I said, we previously supported the LANC recommendations, which did cover those 3 topics. So with that, I'm happy to cede the rest of my time, and I look forward to the bonk presentation. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Next, anyone? Awesome. Okay, and reset, go. 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Kay Hartman. I'm the president of the Palms Neighborhood Council. I'm also the chair of the LANC committee that produced the LANC recommendations, also an officer with the Budget Advocates. So first thing I just want to say is you need to pick up all the CISs directed to the Charter Reform Commission, regardless of there being a council file on or none. I don't think you are. I know you didn't pick up mine. I had to contact staff, and I know of other people who have also, so please check for everything. So that's that. The Palms Neighborhood Council supports the LANC commissions. We support them unconditionally, all of them. I want to highlight a few. So neighborhood councils shall have the right to speak in person and telephonically before all public meetings of the city in a separate queue from public comment, and shall be given 5 minutes to speak. Neighborhood councils shall have the right to speak whenever an item appears on an agenda, even in cases where that item has already been heard by a committee. Neighborhood councils, regardless of the city's position, may deliver to any government agency a statement passed by in a Brown acted public meeting, or to any government in which there is quorum. The city may create and require language to indicate the NC is speaking for itself and not the city. Neighborhood councils shall monitor the delivery of city services for all respective areas and the city at large. For the city clerk, it's her opinion apparently that we can weigh in on what she's doing when we agree with her, but we're not allowed to weigh in when we don't agree with her. So I think we really need to codify that we can weigh in anywhere in the city. City departments, commissions, and offices that issue permits, approvals, or regulatory decisions following a public hearing, must give neighborhood councils a minimum of 30 calendar days to weigh in. And they must keep their online records up to date. That doesn't happen, especially in city planning. During budget challenges, I don't want to do that one because Bonk is going to address it. The city attorney shall give advice or opinion in writing when requested a neighborhood council president. They give us advice, but they won't write it down, which makes it really hard to figure out later, like what did I really talk about? We have also some ethics. We also, some ethics. I'm not sure I want to go through all of them right now, but there's a lot of stuff in here. And I want to say also that before the last commission meeting, we provided a letter supporting the link recommendations being signed by neighborhood council members and stakeholders. We didn't get it delivered in time for this meeting, but we are up to 118 signatures. And if anybody can hear my voice and wants to sign our letter, they can email president@palmsnc.la. I'll send you the link. And if you want to know how to create an independent entity, you can look at the charter markups that we gave the commission for the Office of Transparency and Accountability, which we made independent and wrote up how we thought that could work. So I think the blank recommendations have a lot of value, especially if you look at the markups in the charter and not just at the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next. 5 minutes, whenever you're ready.
Hi, Jennifer Goody, Mid-City Neighborhood Council. We have 2 CISs. Firstly, we support disclosure of ex parte communications. It's recently been stated at the February 5th, 2026 Charter Reform Commission meeting that staff is writing motions for the commission, and they're obviously deeply involved in the work. So their communications with electeds are just as important as those of commissioners. The ex parte communication needs to include staff. We also reject the assertion that ex parte disclosures will lead to political violence made at the above mentioned meeting as embarrassing and insulting to our intelligence and experience as neighborhood council board members. The next one is Mid-City Neighborhood Council feels that charter reform is of the utmost importance given the state of our local government and the numerous scandals blighting City Hall, creating a lack of trust in governance. The ad hoc committee meetings have been conducted in an inefficient, controversial, and frankly indecorous manner. We respectfully request that the ad hoc committee be dissolved and all of the recommendations from the January 31st, 2026 meeting be disregarded, and that the full Charter Reform Commission re-examine the recommendations provided by community groups, especially those from LANC and the Los Angeles Black Workers Center, and the recommendations on policing reform and disciplinary process. That those here last week to speak on police reforms, the LAPD was called to remove them is wild work, guys. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Jamie, whenever you're ready.
This is from my neighborhood council. It was passed unanimously last night at our regular board meeting. The Reseda Neighborhood Council has been struggling with the existential meaning of this iteration of charter reform. In our engagement with this process, we have repeatedly found ourselves asking, who is this process for? Who does this process serve? But perhaps most importantly, can this process be saved? Perhaps Angelenos should not be surprised by this existential pondering. Nearly a year was squandered by political inaction. As reported in Politico, Bass failed to name appointees to a commission to change the charter for more than 6 months, well before historic wildfires ravaged the city, consigning the effort to purgatory. However, to the Reseda Neighborhood Council, it feels as though we never left purgatory. The issues important to wide swaths of Angelinos disposed on the cutting room floor. An ad hoc committee, the slaughterhouse for reform. In a time of cities spiraling debt obligations, the commission contracts an outreach firm for $408,000 and then limits the public who came to speak. In a time of ever-present questions regarding police reform, including use of force and the rights of the press, the commission's ad hoc rejects grappling with police reform and then uses those same police to silence those who came to speak. Neighborhood councils, desperate to see the systemic changes to save this system of democracy, but their needs summarily disposed. The Reseda Neighborhood Council has to ask itself, why did this occur? Why are those in the leadership on this why have those in leadership on this commission appointed themselves as guardians of the orthodoxy? Philosopher John Stuart Mill once asserted that the problem with any effort to suppress non-confirming viewpoints is that the guardians of the orthodoxy wrongfully presume their own infallibility. What now appears unorthodox or even false may later turn out to be both widely accepted and true. Orthodoxy, if left unchallenged, becomes merely a dead dogma rather than a living truth. Only by encountering alternative ideas does a doctrine, no matter how true, have any meaning or vitality. It was in this commitment to guarding the orthodoxy that the last meeting collapsed. Its collapse was not caused by simply an in-the-moment heightening of tempers. Rather, it stemmed from a systemic breakdown in the standards of social interaction that allow people of differing viewpoints to engage peacefully. Our diagnosis then is clear. With the Brown Act adhered to only nominally, methods for obtaining the floor altered without notice, and painstakingly developed concerns nearly voted out of existence, the compact of manners and civility had already been breached by those steering the Charter Commission. Procedures must be made clear in advance, and any on-the-fly corrections aligned to tradition and custom. These steps are essential for the Charter Commission to function effectively as a deliberative body, rather than devolving into an ongoing source of dysfunction and embarrassment, whether intentional or not. However, most importantly, the commissioners fundamentally need to answer the question, do you want a charter that rejects our shared political reality for narrow political expediency? Is the charter for the people of Los Angeles or for a limited political class? Before the most recent meeting collapsed, the commission brought out 1999 Commissioner George Kiefer to expound on why he believes the controller should not be able to audit the programs of elected officials. That position is politically expedient for the city family, but the Reseda Neighborhood Council begs you to ask the question, does that serve the people of Los Angeles? When former controller Wendy Gruhl audited City Attorney Carmen Trutanich's workman's comp program, she found more than $3 million a year in unclaimed revenue. That audit resulted in realized reform. Should that not be the goal for this city? Should we not all want to fix the things that are broken within this city? The Reseda Neighborhood Council wants a city that functions. We want a government that is responsive to its people. We want a government that values equity, transparency, and accountability. We believe that the city would benefit from these kinds of substantive changes, such as council expansion, ranked choice voting, lowering the amount of signatures needed to gain access to the ballot, police reform, and considering lowering the voting age to 16. We believe that the commission has the ability to grapple with needed reform. We just hope that they find the political will necessary. As stated, the artificially condensed time frame and outpouring of community
Thank you so much.
and growing distrust, combined with the dysfunction of the leadership of the commission, makes it unlikely that the commission will complete its work. Therefore, we request that the city council extend the deadline for items to be sent to city council by at least 2 months.
Thank you so much. Any additional in the room? Yes.
Hello,
We're-
Commission.
One second.
Cole.
Okay, go ahead. Go.
I am a four-term elected board member and vice president of the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council. The Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council voted unanimously to support both LANC and the Budget Advocates recommendations, many of which are also in the bonk recommendations you'll hear tonight. Rather than get into the weeds, I just want to say, and as I represent my board tonight, that it's very, very important that this not be some sort of outreach theater. You spent $408,000 of taxpayer money for outreach to the public. $100,000 of that was for outreach to NCs. You have done teaching how to write an effective CIS to you. And yet it seems that most of the recommendations have been dismissed, in secret, without public discussion or anything like that. So that's not good faith. That's not in the spirit of which the outreach was apparently commissioned. I know that in talking to City Fabric, the people that you hired, they're feeling stuck between a rock and a hard place, and said they could speak more honestly to me after this commission had wrapped up. So, this is not a unique position. The people who put together the recommendations of LANC and the budget advocates know this government very, very well. They know this city very, very well, and better than most of you, I would say, and for longer. So if you're not going to pay attention to them, who are you going to pay attention to? I know you can't address everything, but you need to look, we need to really look at what the recommendations are. And I would say that in the spirit of not having outreach theater, that if you can't strengthen the simple things that neighborhood councils are asking for, that were in fact enshrined in the charter at the last time we went through this process, then you should disband us. Because if you're not going to make us able to do what we need to do on a really basic level, I mean, our budgets are 27% of what they were when we were created 25 years ago, if you adjust for inflation. We have nobody that even advocates for our budgets. Dunn doesn't do it, and it's a line in the city clerk's budget, but they don't advocate for us. So if you can't actually strengthen it and take it seriously, and look at all the people you have here that are here spending their time to try to save you, like, look, we know what we're talking about. If you can't do that, then get rid of it. Take it out altogether, because otherwise it's just theater. And, we have too many important things in the city to address to spend time on theater. Well, not real theater, but this kind of performance theater. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the room? Was that it? All right. We have one person online. Let me read the name. We are taking the person off of mute right now. Kathy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, 5 minutes, go.
Yes, Kathy Schreiner. I am president of the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council, and I'm presenting the CIS that was approved at our meeting last week unanimously to endorse the recommendations that were put forward by LANC. And I'm not going to go through details because Kay Hartman raised some of the most important ones, but I just want to say that we as neighborhood councils really need the opportunity to provide our advice in a separate queue from regular public comment to all the different city deliberations. And we also need to be able to provide virtual commentary. From Van Nuys to downtown Los Angeles to make a 1-minute comment, it's just not reasonable to expect. And most of my members work during the day anyway. So there are things that are really necessary to make our role as advisors to the city even workable. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Are there any other approved community impact statements from neighborhood councils online? All right, it does not appear that there are any. We're going to move to approval of meeting minutes from our February 5th, 2026 special meeting. The minutes have been printed for your reference, commissioners, and have been posted online and were emailed out. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of February 5th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion moved by Commissioner Stein and seconded by Commissioner Sanchez. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, is there any objection to approving the minutes from February 5th, 2026? All right, seeing no objection, the minutes are approved. Thank you, commissioners. Commissioners, we have a number of additional items before us. There's been a request to take a break. We will take a 10-minute recess. Is there any objection? All right, we will reconvene. Commissioners, members of the public, I'm going to reconvene the meeting with roll call. Commissioner Andrades.
Present.
Commissioner Field.
Present.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Present.
Commissioner Levine.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Mack.
Present.
Commissioner Mesa is present. Commissioner Murray. Commissioner Sanchez.
Present.
Commissioner Stein.
Present.
Commissioner Thomas I see. He's here. Commissioner Yap.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. We're now going to move to the Executive Director's report on outreach and other matters. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, sorry, let me borrow a copy of my own report. Here, again, the report mainly focused on the schedule and bringing that to everyone's attention first and foremost as we really hit the stride and can see the finish line for this commission's work to get recommendations to the council no later than April 2nd. At this point, we've had, I want to say nearly 50 meetings of this commission, which is a tremendous amount of meetings. We are working on the metrics for the number of public comment submitted in person, virtually, written public comment, the number of contacts we've made in various forms, full debriefing from City Fabric, and all of those things that will be a part of telling your story of getting us to this point and to the finish line. But it's been a lot, and we do have still a lot left in front of us. So for the public and for the commission, I think it's just really important to look and absorb this calendar. It is ambitious. We have not a whole lot of room to because staff, we need direction from the commission to move forward with writing charter language. And because writing charter language is a team effort working with various city departments, including the city attorney's office, we need time to do that. So that's what the schedule lays out. At the end of it, you'll see that last meeting on March 5th. After that, we plan to be bringing back in batches, chunks, however you want to say it, sections of charter language for you to approve. And that is the biggest of deals. Once we will be bringing back a redlined charter language for you to review, for the public to review, make final comment on, final changes on if needed, and to / amend, and then to approve to send to council. That will take, those approvals will be not just the language, but I want to make sure that this commission is aware that it's going to be the red line language, and I'll just make it up. I'll just use an example. Let's say the commission expands the city council by X. It will be the language that does that, all the changes of the charter that expand the council to X and those impacts, plus mainly taking from a lot of the reports that we've written and been contributed to by so many, a sentence or two, give or take, on what that is, the explanation of the action, and why that action is being taken. So you'll be approving both of those parts. Those are the essential parts to the report that will be sent to council. The action you're taking, the charter languages, the charter changes you are making, and the what and the why. So that will start after March 5th. Having said that, it really is dependent on this commission moving things forward. Not everything, eyes wide open here. I know on probably every, we've talked about buckets. Maybe not every item in every bucket will move forward. But a lot of it, I think, will. I know a lot. All of you are passionate about the work that has gone on, especially on your committees. The committees have done some amazing work. So really appreciate everyone kind of looking at this and seeing what lays in front of us, and the work that also on the back end the staff has to do to get us to the meetings after March 5th, where we're delivering charter language to you. So that is the bulk of my report, just focusing on that. And I'll just underline the last thing, everything takes 7 votes to approve. So it's, please make sure you have time on the calendar to be here to for those dates. Let me know in advance if you have a date that you're going to miss. Now, please let me know by email by the end of the week. But we need not just quorum, we need more than quorum, so that these votes have whatever the vote is, that all commissioners participate in these important votes. That concludes my report. Happy to take some questions.
Commissioner Yap.
Thanks for that on the schedule. I'm going to ask that, particularly when it comes to the dates, the fact that they've been moving
yes,
with some regularity has made it particularly challenging to manage certainly my own schedule. I know that I will be, I'll just speak for myself. I'll be able to be at these next sets of Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Perfect.
However, the new March dates, which were brought up, I think maybe last week, present a problem, because over the course of the time leading up to the last week, there was a gap, which I